Welcome to For Good Measure, an interview series celebrating diverse composers and other creative artists. I'm Nanette McGuinness, Artistic Executive Director of Ensemble for these times. In this week's episode, we continue our conversation with Megan Chartier. So, talk about what you've done with us or performing with us or,
Yeah, so I think I've been performing with Ensemble for these times since 2023, I think.
I think so too,
So a
yeah.
couple years now. And it's always been so fun. So one of the things with contemporary music that's always tricky is that the amount of preparation time is substantially more than other orchestra things or even just like, chamber music, very traditional chamber music.
Right.
But that's always been particularly rewarding to have something that seems just so impossible, but knowing that it is, if you just if you know how to problem solve it the right way.
Right.
And so
Right.
that's always been that's one of the things I enjoy about contemporary music, but Ensemble for these times, because every program feels like such an achievement each time. And so but I let's see, the first I don't even, I'm trying to remember back to what the first program was. I remember some pieces. Um,
I'm feeling like it was fall of
it
not this
was,
past season, it was fall of the season
yeah,
before. Oh, you know what? I think it
it's
was the
old
one with
first.
it was Old First with the Schoenberg. It was the
Oh, it was the
expressionism.
right, the Verkleute Nacht, yes. And then I
Yes.
had that solo piece. Yeah, and that was just to like know a piece like Verkleute Nacht as well, because playing the traditional orchestration of it, of course you really learn to love it and
Oh,
digest it. But when you have to play the piano trio version, there's a density to that knowing the score even more, that was very rewarding in that concert in particular.
yeah. I knew Verklärte Nacht from when I was an undergrad. That's when
Hmm.
I encountered it studying musicology, actually.
Hmm.
And I hadn't encountered the piano trio. Brennan Stokes, my then
Right.
assistant director, mentioned it to me when we were putting together the expressionism season.
Hmm.
And it is the same piece and it's gorgeous, but
Oh yeah.
it's really dense for the instrumentalist because you've just divided by two.
Right, right. Right.
So I get that it's an incredibly hard score. So I was very grateful that you were playing it,
Oh,
you know.
I, it definitely was a highlight to play that arrangement of it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what the solo you played on that program. Do you remember?
Dragon and the Girl.
Yes, Lisa
Yes.
Bilowa. That is a
Yes.
nice piece. Yes, I
It's a
remember that.
beautiful piece. And whenever I'm programming other things, I'm like, should I come back to this piece? I think, I'd love to play it again and see how it develops over time. I loved that piece. That was so special.
Yeah, it's really nice to come back to a piece like when one has done it and then say a year later and there's been other music and when you
Right.
first how it has marinated in your brain.
Right, right. Yeah.
Mm.
I was just talking as part of the Cal Poly's Cello Fest. We had
Mhm.
this whole one-on-one meeting between the composer, our composition faculty, Erin Klein. I played a piece where I think I was the fifth performance of it, maybe third performer. And so we had a
Nice.
whole lecture demonstration on what that's like to both play it, because I performed it twice within 2 weeks in different venues,
Uh-huh.
and talking about how that changes it, but then time in between, different performers, all of those things, and how a piece can develop by itself, independent of the composer.
Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. Yeah, so Cello Fest. Tell us about that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, we have, I think I counted 20 or 22 cellists between all the ensembles that we have,
Wow.
or private lessons, or people who are trying to get lessons because they can't fit the ensembles in their schedules, or they didn't get into the orchestras. So the music program at Cal Poly is very interesting because there are very, very few music majors. And oftentimes those music majors, we end up getting them through people changing majors. And so they're very passionate, but they don't come in as music majors oftentimes. But we still have an enormous number of musicians that are part of the program. So I think our department chair counted 800 students that make up the ensembles alone.
Wow.
800.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
the
a lot.
orchestra, yeah, exactly. So now it's getting competitive to audition for the ensembles. I think we've got something like 18 first violins, 16 seconds, 16 cellos, like 10 violas, 5 basses. It's a very full ensemble. And so it was one of those things where I couldn't, if I have this many cellists, and we have a cello ensemble, which has
Right.
13 cellists. And
Wow.
I'll accept them as long as we can fit them in our rehearsal room, because we're actually very much, having some space restrictions in the room that I teach in.
I get that.
So yeah, and so I ended up starting our first ever cello fest that will happen every 2 years, to kind of celebrate the program and have these unique experiences for cello. And cello by itself is a very popular instrument, and so it's an easy draw for concerts and things like that. But to have that many cellists, it's pretty remarkable. And I wanted to, the big kind of motivating factor behind Cello Fest, with having so many non-majors, was showing all these students who are engineers and mathematicians and biologists, or soon to be, that that there is a world of music for them to explore in their professional lives, whether that's performing, for fun on the side, whether that's being on a board, whether that's donating, whether that's having some sort of an active part in this type of thing. And so they were very much an active part of the marketing and choosing what we were going to spend our budget on, and the programming, and how are we going to get people there. And so it was a very fun process, and we ended up having 7 events in total and 3 main concerts, large concerts, and all of those were standing room only. And it was a lot of
Congratulations.
fun. Yeah, a lot of
That's
fun.
great. And I think having it be biannual is a good idea. It lets enthusiasm build up, and it takes time to put it together.
And we're going to do something slightly different each time. It's going to be even bigger, but slightly some interesting things along the way. And so I like to kind of see how each year of what the cello studio itself has an interest in doing. And so it has, some personal connection to each of them.
Ooh, so we have to stay tuned.
Yes, exactly. I already know what's happening, but stay tuned.
Yeah, right. It's private,
Yeah.
not public yet.
Thank you for listening to For Good Measure, and a special thank you to our guest, Megan Chartier, for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast by clicking on the subscribe button, and support us by sharing it with your friends, posting about it on social media, and leaving us a rating and a review. To learn more about E4TT, our concert season online and in the Bay Area, or to make a tax-deductible donation, please visit us at www.e4tt.org. This podcast is made possible by grants from the California Arts Council, the San Francisco Arts Commission, Grants for the Arts, and generous donors like you. For Good Measure is produced by Nanette McGuinness and Ensemble for These Times, and designed by Brennan Stokes, with special thanks to co-producer and audio engineer Stephanie M. Neumann. Remember to keep supporting equity in the arts, and tune in next week for Good Measure.